So we know from the self-reporting study, which I've already told you have greater accuracy regarding who commits what kinds of crimes, that these reports show that black youth are only slightly more likely than white youth to commit offenses. And in fact, the SRS also shows that drug use among white youth is higher, but that black youth are more likely to be removed from their homes for drug use. There are differences in rates of youth in the justice system based on socioeconomic status as well. The rates are quite different between the lower and higher SES brackets. It's difficult to tell why these differences in rates exist. As you can see from the slide, the rates of those that are in the lower SES group are much more likely to be in the juvenile justice system. Who becomes a serious offender? We know that there are certain predictive factors in who will become the serious offender committing higher levels of felony offenses, or who becomes the long-term career offender. The Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention is highly invested in understanding these trends so that they can focus their efforts on interventions with these specific groups. We know that when a youth starts missing school, particularly when they become truant, and that means that they are missing school without a legitimate absence, that they are much more likely to become a serious or career offender. But we also are aware that the schools file petitions on youth, and that taking a student out of the school then reduces the likelihood of petitions being filed, and thus reduces the incidence of delinquency. Researchers and policy analysts are not just interested in who and why people are committing offenses, but also as to why they stop committing offenses. In studying trends, it's important to recognize that there are trends regarding desistance from crime. There are several different theories about that, including the concept of the maturation effect, that youth mature into adulthood and the likelihood of continued offending is due to that maturation. That youth start to make more rational choices as they go into adulthood, that developmental changes occur, and that social learning theories and life course theories are at play as well. So let's review some slides that show trends in juvenile justice. We know that delinquency cases rose during the mid-1990s and then started to drop off. This was a national trend that we saw at play in Kentucky. In Kentucky, the highest rates of youthful offenders, meaning those that are committing serious crimes that were transferred to adult court, the highest rates of youthful offenders occurred during the late 1990s. In part, that was considered to be the result of a backlash and the passage of certain laws in Kentucky in the mid-1990s. We see also that drug offense cases increased considerably during the mid to late 1990s, almost doubling in over a decade for the older age groups. This does not mean that drug use is on the rise, but rather that societal and juvenile justice responses to this kind of behavior is utilizing the legal system for a remedy. As for public order cases, and by that I mean cases where someone commits an offense that does not involve property or person, but rather disrupts the public order or peace, things like obstructing justice or resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, terroristic threatening, possession of a weapon. These cases came close to doubling too during that same period of time. We know also that the older the juvenile, the more likely that they tend to be in juvenile court. And this trend of older youth being in court is consistent among all offense categories. About half of all the delinquency cases involve youth that are younger than the age of 16. And this slide explains the actual breakdown of the number of offenses by the type of offense. So at this point in the course, you should be thinking about what wiki group you might want to join. There will be a sign-up folder in Blackboard, and the groups close after they have 5 or 6 members in them. It's first come, first served, So the sooner you sign up, the more likely you will be to get into the group that you want.